Thanks for being with us, Christine. I know it was a bit of a journey to get here.
It was easy.
Here from Virginia. Daniel and I asked Christine if she would join us for this podcast while she's in town for a conference that she's speaking at. And we would just like to talk to you about, as a building scientist, all of the things that go into making a home healthy and comfortable, and like all of the things that are kind of working in the background that I would say normal people don't have to, you don't have to consider, we don't have to think about, as long as we plan for them and build things right, like these things should just disappear.
Yeah, they should just be givens, right? Like not, like you said, not things that we think about or that the client even needs to worry about.
When a person decides they want to build a house, that's how you know you've got a good team, is when that stuff becomes, I mean, I wouldn't say completely invisible to you, but when it just works. And most things in life, when it works, we're not really thinking about it. And when you're working with really good professionals, when you've hired people that are really good at their jobs, they involve you as the homeowner in just the right way, finding out what your preferences are, what your lifestyle is, in just the right way, without burdening you with, I don't know, doing a research project to figure out how basic stuff in your house ought to work and ought to function. A good team will be doing that for you anyway.
In those initial interviews, we do get to know people and try to understand how they live so that design and that construction can accommodate whatever it is that are their preferences.
Yeah, there's often things, I mean, in like pre-design that we ask, or the architect is asking about, just like, what is your normal routine? What are the things you care? What are your priorities? And that like really informs how we're going to design. I'm trying to think of just like,
are you trying to think of an example? Because I have an example. I mean, it's not a building science example, but it's an example of how this stuff works. So, Chelsea, you were my actual architect, even though I am an architect. And actually, I think that's sort of an interesting distinction too. I am a licensed architect, and my specialty is in building science and building enclosures, and yet I decided to hire my friend, an architect who does stuff better than I do in terms of interiors and design, and who has more experience than me, because I knew that I had better taste than I could satisfy myself. But we were looking at an example, the example I thought of is things change, and when your architect knows has done a good job of understanding what your priorities are and what's important to you in your space and how you live, they can anticipate questions and needs before they arise. And one of the conversations you and I had was during this, it was I guess fairly substantial renovation of a house that we'd bought in Blacksburg, Virginia. And I had learned during the construction that I was pregnant with triplets, which is a pretty big change. And we hadn't told anybody that we were pregnant. But I told Chelsea. It's actually
very important.
I think I've been like the first to know of 2 other pregnancies, like because of being an architect
privilege.
It's actually really awesome.
That's great.
Well, I told her I was pregnant with triplets, and then she said, like, you're going to need a bigger kitchen table. And we needed to move some stuff around to accommodate a bigger table. Like, we really did need a bigger table. Yeah. We have a bigger table. It's worked out very well. But we had to move the fridge from one side of the room to the other. And fortunately, there was enough time to do that. And anyway, there's all kinds of things like that come up in construction, and we've got a good team. First of all, you trust them with your pregnancy news way before like family knew. You actually did know before my family.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's so special. I mean, truly, I think it's like, that's like a really good plug for just like the idea that hiring an architect, hiring like consultants, a team who specialize in these things is so important. And like on the flip side, I was so nervous. Like I think that's my first, maybe only project working for like a client
Another
as
architect,
an architect.
yeah.
And it's like kind of weird because it's like, well, you know the process and you know what I'm doing. You can read these drawings, but it really is like there's so much nuance and so much detail, especially in all of these technical details that we're talking about, that like if you think you're going to do it by yourself, like that's just crazy.
It's hard, yeah.
I did attempt to DIY. Well, Chelsea knows now because you know this house. So one of the things we didn't do was it's so hard to, especially in a renovation, to avoid scope creep.
Yeah,
and
we had some for sure.
Oh yeah, and
I think
focused. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's there's still stuff we want to do, but one of the things we didn't do that I actually think we probably should have was there's a little powder room off of the kitchen, and because we have triplets, we have a lot of help, childcare, so we have a lot of people in our house, a lot, and so that room, the powder room, gets used a lot, and it was pretty like really dated. Anyway, I just DIY'd my own little powder room renovation.
Nice.
No. I mean, it turned out okay, but like, don't save me from myself.
Well, you're talking
preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
We both have been working on our own
You've been working on your
So
own
many
house.
things,
That's right. Yeah. I did. I redid my P trap.
Okay.
Yeah, that was interesting.
fun.
Also, I had to get all of my materials from Amazon because I can't leave the house with 4 little children at home.
Yeah.
So this was, whatever. I do leave the house.
Yeah.
I leave the house for my job, but I don't have a whole lot of extra time. Fortunately, it was a very small room, so it was okay. But I think the longer, at least, I've been in the profession, the more respect I have for people who have experiences that are sort of just adjacent mine, that there's a richness to their experience in the same way that there is to mine. And I like to rely on and defer to their expertise because in the long run, I mean, when it's not like for basic stuff like a powder room, I wouldn't, if that's all that the house needed, I wouldn't have asked your opinion on stuff. But for stuff that's really important, I think that a lot of times people make the mistake of thinking that hiring a specialist will add to the cost. And in a certain sense, it does, but only in a very short-term sense.
Yeah.
In a long-term sense, I think that most of the time, hiring, you're just not wrong to invest in expertise and like knowledge and experience in a good team.
It speaks more to, rather than the cost, the value, right? Like the value you get of having those other individuals in your team. I think too, something that you said, the conversation about letting Chelsea know about the pregnancy, something that we talk about a lot is how important that relationship is and how intimate it is. And in the beginning, finding people that are your people, because you're going to be working with them for a long time. And so it's not so much, what is their portfolio or, things like that. It's really, is that someone that you can get along with, that you trust to be in your home? To tell these personal things to.
The trust part is a really big deal. That's another thing I see. So I've had a lot of experience on the forensic side. So I've dealt with a lot of situations where things have not gone very well. On the forensic side, I've dealt with people who have had pretty substantial failures in the place that they live. That is really personal. I mean, I've worked obviously in forensics in all kinds of buildings too, but when the failure in question is somebody's house, it really it hits harder for me even. It's a lot more of an emotional experience, and sometimes their failure is just bad luck. What happened was sort of a perfect storm of stuff. But a lot of times it was a failure to invest up front in really in expertise and good design. And people took a bunch of calculated risks on doing something in maybe a shorter or seemingly quicker, easier, cheaper way. And then I guess there's usually an element of bad luck even in the stuff that's sort of semi-predictable, right? Where they raised their chances of a failure and then they had one. And I think that one of the mistakes that people make that contributes to that a lot, to get back to the trust issue, is that they treat the professionals they hire as people that they need to negotiate against.
Yeah.
So every interaction is, I don't know, it's like the way that they think they'd be speaking to a car salesman or something.
Yeah.
And people do ask me a lot. This is not my part of the profession, really. But people do ask me when they learn about my expertise in forensics, they're like, oh my gosh, like how do I hire the right architect or I don't want what you've just showed me to happen to my house. How do I avoid this? And I usually tell them something like that along the lines of, you need to feel like your team is, particularly your architect and your builder are your advocates. And they're your representatives. They're negotiating your interests with their subcontractors. Mm-hmm. And if you can't trust them to do that, then you have the wrong team.
Yeah.
You should not be.
I think that's a really good way of saying it.
You shouldn't hire that person. That is a wrong fit.
It should be someone, it's like, we're familiar with how this works and like the best ways to do things and how to achieve someone's priorities. And like, it's like getting a guide.
Yeah.
And not someone that's on the opposite side trying to fight with you.
And you know when to push a sub and when to back off and say, actually, we're going to need to find an alternative because what they're saying is reasonable in this case. And we need to, we need to rethink this. Mm-hmm. Or when to stand your ground and say, this is, and you know this because of your position in the industry and ideally your market really well too. And what's common, what's uncommon in a way that the homeowner doesn't.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is what we try to achieve during pre-construction is to really convey that we are all sitting on the same side of the table, the architects, the clients, and us, and the engineers and whoever else is involved. And that if people are uncomfortable with that, because of preconceived notions about how the relationship should work, then we realize it's not a good fit for us either to be working for somebody like that. And that's really one of the big benefits of having the pre-construction process,
for sure,
where you can really feel out, okay, what is this relationship going to be like? And you can set the tone of we are a part of the same team.
Are they already, when you have a pre-construction meeting like that, I mean, I guess your answer is probably going to be that it depends, but how soon are you able to kind of make that determination? Because in my experience, in other things, like not even in building, like there are some types of people for whom everything is a negotiation. Yeah. Like that, they just appreciate, that's how they approach everything.
Yeah.
And are you able to kind of
you're right.
walk away from that before it gets further?
Yeah. I mean, I think we really try it in the discovery phase, as short as it is, to the best that we can get to know people like that. And sometimes it's quite obvious, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not, and you can make it all the way through pre-construction, and then the job starts, and all of a sudden they're different people. So you just...
I think because we like really try to get in as early as possible, like if we're involved and like it feels like a collaboration with the architect or the design team, I think that if they can understand early, like, we want what you want, like, it kind of removes that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like some kind of self-selection where that's the kinds of clients we get.
I think there is a lot of that. But it is. Well, I mean, we are fortunate, I think, that in most cases, we begin pre-construction either before design has started at all or early in schematic design. So there is a long drawn out process where even if maybe somebody is not familiar with that type of relationship, they come to appreciate it during
the process,
with the pre-construction.
Yeah. I want to go back to something that you said earlier, and I don't know if you'll have like an answer for this necessarily, but I'm thinking about with your background, you've talked about like seeing the problems maybe that come up with someone's home versus maybe a commercial project. It hits a different way.
Yeah.
If I'm wondering, because I think frequently I find even myself making compromises, like even on my personal home of like, I don't care if this is, I want it to look like this, whatever. Are there common trade-offs that you see people making that you wish they wouldn't make? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I wonder if I can think of any. But it is funny you say that, because as I was renovating this powder room, installing wallpaper and stuff, I knew that you were going through this with your house. And I actually told my husband, I was like, there are things that I did in this bathroom. This is going to sound so weird that Chelsea just would not do. I was like, she's meticulous. She just wouldn't be like what I did, and I just was winging it. And I was so fortunate that I'd picked a really busy pattern in the wallpaper. It didn't have to align. But no, are there? Let's think if there are trade-offs that are really common.
Maybe a way to think about it is like, I mean, I've had several friends ask me to go look at houses with them that have been like kind of quickly flipped.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
It's like, man, I wish they wouldn't have done this, because it's like you made it harder, or you have to tear out something new in order to address something that should have been addressed. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, one thing that I thought of when you were talking about your house, it's interesting because like designing for an architect who is very technically skilled, like, is really helpful, because right after we did your project, someone reached out about a crawl space issue that they had.
And
I was like, I got the details for you. This is easy. And I didn't even do it. It was the person who actually knows. This is how you encapsulate your crawl space correctly. Or,
I learned some lessons on that crawl space, though.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you about it in a minute, because it'll be relevant to this. But one of the common trade-offs, I think this is one you already know, but it's like, that's sort of it. Like, a lot of this stuff, as technical as things get, like, some of it is really complicated, but most of it actually isn't. Most of it actually isn't. I think where people really like, this is the first step in like problem direction. And if you could avoid taking the first step, then you save yourself a lot of heartache. And the first step is picking something that is too big.
Yeah.
And stretching your budget too much at the beginning.
I love this.
Because then it stretches you. Then you start making like bigger compromises later. And so one of the things that was actually really hard in my own house is we decided to basically do like one big nerdy thing, like energy related, comfort related, health related upgrade. And that was the crawl space. So it was this old, actually it wasn't that old. It's a 25-year-old house. And it had not a lot of insulation. It's in Virginia in the mountains. It's a cold enough climate. It's not super cold. It's Virginia. It's not Canada where I'm from, but it's not Austin either. Yeah. And I think we only have it was just really not very well insulated. We've only got R13 in the attic, for instance. Wow. I didn't even know that was code anywhere. Like, it might not have been code even at the time.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
It's really not very well insulated. And the place that we started to think about the upgrade was the crawl space, which was also not well insulated, or it wasn't insulated at all. And we switched it to a conditioned crawl space. It's nice and dry. It's great. Yeah. And I'm telling you the crawl space lessons, the thing that we did first, there's so many things. The decision we made really was, because this is an old house, it's kind of an ugly house. We didn't have a lot of choices in the place that we moved.
Ugly house.
Was, that's true. was. But it was, we decided to do sort of one major, bones type project, which was the crawl space, and then one major day-to-day quality of life aesthetic upgrade, which was the kitchen. Now there were some other things in there as well. We redid the floors, and there's some other stuff that went into that as well. But that was like the real focus of the effort, was sort of kitchen, living room, dining room. And I think that was a really good decision for us, that we wanted to do so much. We wanted to do everything, of course. Yeah. Everybody does. Yeah. You get so excited about it, and then it starts looking beautiful, and then you want more beauty. But I think really that was a good thing to do, because it meant that we really did invest in the crawl space in the right way, and we weren't tempted to pick maybe less durable materials, or take other compromises. And I see that mistake repeated a lot in a lot of people's homes. They'll be designing. So I'll give you an example. I was designing, consulting an architect who had been commissioned to design a 8,000 square foot house in Dallas, the Dallas area. 8,000 square feet is big.
That's really big.
That is a big house. And the architect told me that the roof, the attic, was a typical bungalow style vented attic. This is a new house, 8,000 square feet. I know.
It's like, what? That's crazy.
And that's what I said. That's crazy. Like, this is an 8,000 square foot house. You shouldn't be trying to penny pinch in the attic. And of course the roof line for an 8,000. So for people who are less familiar with this, if you picture a house the way a child would draw it, like a square and a triangle on top, as the roof. That was not this.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was a lot of those.
A lot of triangles in a lot of dimensions. Sort of the way my 4-year-old would draw it without a ruler. You can do sort of lower cost things when your design is more simple, when you're doing something that's more architecturally simple. And one of the trade-offs you make is that if you want something that's more architecturally complex, and sometimes simple is very beautiful. So this is not a knock against the way a child would draw the house, the triangle, and you can make that. Somebody like Chelsea can make that real nice. And then you can take advantage of some of the sort of often lower cost ways of achieving similar performance. You can do that. But if you're going to have something that's more complex, you're going to need to respond in kind and be a little bit more creative and invest in doing some of those more interesting, say, roofline details a little bit better. And I think people sometimes they get very angry at that. And actually the client in this case got angry because they felt cheated. And they feel entitled to the lowest cost approach in all situations. And I think another mistake people make, now that you've got me started, Chelsea, is that people don't realize that a house is a system. And so when you make a decision to have an 8,000 square foot house and your roof line is really complicated, well, that affects what kind of insulation you're going to use, where it's going, whether it's on the outside of the enclosure or on the inside. It affects whether your attic space is conditioned or not. It affects how you design and where you place your mechanical equipment. Like there's this cascading series of decisions and factors that go into these things. And if you bite off more than you can chew, you end up doing something really crazy, like having a really risky vented attic in an 8,000 square foot house. And that risk level, I walked away from the project and I told the architect, you should walk away from this also. Your clients are asking you to take on too much risk for yourself, never mind them.
I bet that's not uncommon though. That
It is not uncommon.
Not uncommon.
And it's so heartbreaking to me to see that, because it's like you could do a 6,000 square foot house, which is also a large house, and be able to afford to do it right.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to jump out. Y'all keep talking.
Yeah, we're going to keep talking.
It's the first time for us.
I like sitting down with my architect here.
Just architect conversations here.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I actually that topic is something that is a personal peeve of mine that I really wish we could get across to people. Wouldn't you rather have or even make it half size?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. It's all relative. But think about if you have the same amount of money to put in 8,000 square feet or 4,000, wouldn't you rather have the nicer one?
Oh, I know. And it's funny too. This is I've had such a weird job, a weird career. The forensic stuff is it's weird. So I've done this work in sort of commercial, institutional buildings, but also people's houses. And sometimes those people have really, really big houses.
Yeah.
And it's this is another part that's really, really weird. It's like you go into somebody's house and I don't want to know this about them in my forensic capacity anyway, but like I know what side of the bed they sleep on.
Yeah.
I know what books they read. That's weird. It's too much sometimes. But I can tell you, I've been in a lot of enormous houses, and the houses have all have a pretty interesting feature, which you know what this is.
Yeah.
You know before I'm even going to say it. And that is most people, no matter how big their house is, they basically live in the same rooms as everybody else. They spend a lot of time in their kitchen and their living room and, maybe their bedroom or there's a family room. That's it.
Yeah.
And I will also tell you that a lot of enormous houses are surprisingly cluttered.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of like if you have a handbag,
you're going to fill up whatever
you'll fill it up.
Yeah.
You'll fill it up. Yeah. You'll just fill it up. It's sort of a funny thing. I think you're almost always better off choosing sort of smaller, better.
Yeah.
There was a really interesting article I read. My husband and I talk about this all the time with each other. I might have even told this to you already because we talk about it so much. But we read this. There's an etiquette column in the New York Times. I don't really do much reading right now, so they probably still have it, but it's not, they do like a moral one at The Ethicist or something. It's not this one. This is etiquette, just etiquette.
Okay.
And this question came in. So it's like they submit a question, like how do I, whatever, break up with somebody in like the nicest way, or I don't know, whatever. And this one person wrote in saying that she was having a big birthday, like a milestone. She was hosting a big milestone birthday party for her husband. And the question was, how can I communicate to people that it's going to be a cash bar?
Oh, okay.
So that was the question. And then she gave details on a bunch of details on like the big event and all this stuff, and that they'd been waiting to have this and they were very excited. Whatever. There were more details, like imagine the flourish that came with this. And the advice was, the response was really very basic. And I think it was something to the effect of, on the invitation, how you do this is you say cash bar, something like that. It was really simple. Yeah. But then the follow-up was, but don't do this. You should not do this. And the advice was, and this is what my husband and I say to each other all the time, have the party that you can afford.
That is so good.
And the advice is wait until you can afford to have the party you really want to have, or scale it down and have the best party that you can have for your budget. Don't give into this too much, this scope creep even in your party planning. So when we get out of hand with day-to-day stuff, that's our little code. Have the party you can afford.
I love that. I want to steal
If I'm online shopping, my husband would be like, have the party you can afford. Which isn't don't have the party.
Yeah.
It's not like this dream killer. Yeah. It's have get what you really, really want. Yeah. But in the best way, not it's sort of ironic. It's compromise so that you don't have to compromise. Yeah. Compromise in
do it
one
at the
thing.
beginning so you can do the rest the way you want.
The way you really want it. Yeah.
Honestly, like the house that we're living in that we still haven't finished remodeling quite. We actually first made an offer on a house 2 doors down that was much bigger. And I was so excited about that house. And
now
they got another offer at the same time as us. And we lost. The other offer won. We got this other house. It's 1,200 square feet. And I was like really bummed at first. Like, this other house was like much bigger. It was like this split level thing. And they were under construction the same time we were doing renovations. And I heard from a neighbor that they ran into all this like termite damage and water damage.
All kinds of stuff.
And our house had some termite damage. But like, we ran into a lot of things we didn't expect. We ended up redoing a lot of the electrical. It was in really bad shape. And the whole time, like I've just been like so thankful that we did not get that house, because I think about what we spent and like how that would have had to been stretched over more square footage.
Right.
I was kind of forced to make the compromise at the beginning. I didn't have a choice, but I'm glad it worked out that way.
Actually, the same thing happened to me in when I was trying to buy my first house in Dallas. The the first house, I just loved it. It was a great house, and it was big and beautiful, and I just was like, this is fantastic. It had great bones. I just couldn't wait to get in there and make it mine. And I didn't like, I was a first time home buyer. I didn't really know. And the bank said that they would lend me this much money, and there you go. Anyway, it fell through on the day of closing.
Oh,
it was crazy. It was one of these flip things, right? Yeah. And they hadn't properly cleared title.
Okay.
When they purchased it. So it was a complicated situation. So basically that's not good though. If you can't actually own the house, that's not good. Anyway, I ended up with, in the same neighborhood, just a few streets down, ended up with a substantially smaller house. And I didn't realize, I was still bummed about it even after I liked the house I got. I liked it a lot. But again, when I started to renovate it, I realized how happy I was to have something that was much more manageable.
Yeah.
And I think actually that maybe this is a helpful conversation for people who are not in the industry to hear, or might be sort of industry adjacent, that this stuff happens to professionals too.
Oh yeah. All the
where
time.
this is this is my job. This is your job. We're both architects. And even in our own houses, we can be surprised by things.
For sure.
Best to have a small surprise, not a big surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this is great. I think we should just wrap it up here, and we can talk more later.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.